James is here. He's here early too.
Look like this the NBA TV James Ham right there.
James, where are you?
I'm in a bomb shelter underneath the basement.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is what we usually deal with, right? The bomb shelter doesn't have good sound. I'm in the NBA TV room, which is hiding right by the media conference room. Yeah.
Shout out to James for being on NBA TV last week. Big ups to him.
Yeah.
Oh, it was twice. They had me on before last game too.
I didn't see that one. I didn't get the notification.
I'm extremely popular in NBA TV circles at this point. I don't know why.
Well, it's because the Kings are back to being dysfunctional, and they need your perspective on it. That's
amen to that. Yeah,
that's pretty much what.
Let
me reset for James real quick.
Yeah.
We were having a discussion about, if the Sacramento Kings or De'Aaron Fox decided it's time to move on from Sacramento or it's time to move on from De'Aaron. We were talking with Eddie Gonzalez about the two teams in Texas that seem to at least have San Antonio clearly has a very great interest in landing De'Aaron Fox. There's a belief that Houston would also have an interest. Both teams have very tradable assets, movable assets. They both have very attractive trade offers that could be made to acquire the player, the caliber of De'Aaron Fox. My argument was with both of those teams, you're getting players in return. Mm-hmm. And you've got Domas here, you've got Malik, you've got Keegan. You're at the very, very worst, you're adding some solid depth pieces. And I'm of the mindset that if you make that move, James, you don't need to blow it up and start all over. Like, you have something there that you could salvage this season. And my argument was that you're not going to be any worse than what you are, but you could potentially salvage this season and work this offseason to turn it into something bigger or stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I get that completely. But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I think if there does come a point where the Kings have to trade De'Aaron Fox, number one, I think you're going to wait until after the season, and very specifically because there are players that are not really available right now to the Kings on other rosters that might be available, this summer. But first and foremost, I think the Kings are going to do everything they can to salvage this relationship. They're going to see if Doug Christie can sort of capture the imagination of this team. I think that they're going to have, lots of conversations about improving the roster and do the best they can in that area to try to make this as appealing a spot for De'Aaron Fox to be as possible. And then if all of that falls apart, then you're going to look at this summer and say, okay, which team gives me the best opportunity to stay competitive? It's not, I don't think the Kings are looking to take a tremendous step back and start collecting draft picks. They're going to want young assets. They're going to want young players under contract, players that, with potential to be great. They're not going to be looking for, De'Aaron Fox for 3 role players. You're the Sacramento Kings. It's been time proven that the only way for you to get a star level player is it's through the draft. And whether that's because you take a draft pick and you end up trading it for a player like Sabonis, or it's because you draft well and you develop a talent like De'Aaron Fox. And so I could see them making a move, but there are teams out there that are raising their hand and saying, we would love to get in on the De'Aaron Fox sweepstakes. And at this point, none of those teams really have and it piqued my interest at all. And at the end of the day, I mean, it matters a little bit where De'Aaron Fox wants to play next, but not to the Kings. As long as they're able to get maximum value, and the only way De'Aaron can tank that value is if he says, I won't go to play to team X because I won't sign a long-term deal there. That would change things for the Kings. But outside of that, I'm looking at these teams, more specifically Houston, and saying, if you guys want to take the next step in your progression, maybe you're willing to give up a couple of really high-end prospects, 1 or 2 of which have the potential to be great. And if nothing else, they're going to be really, really good role players. I'm not trading him for 3 role players to the Spurs.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, James. Absolutely everything. Number one, to answer your question, Dame, because it's a good question. I think if you did the Spurs pick, the record makes it tough for me to say like you'd be worse because like you're already not good record wise. But I just think talent wise, I think you'd be taking a step back if you got Vassell, Sohan, and Stephon Castle, who I really like as a young guy. So I think you'd be a little worse. Houston, it was one of those teams that James is talking about. What you may be looking for, they contractually can't even do anything this year. And I'm talking about Jalen Green. Like he can't be moved. So you got to wait for the summer. I think he gives you the biggest return back on, or that potential package. Jalen Green, maybe a Reed Shepard, maybe Cam Whitmore and picks that might give you the best return. So they'd be number one. I think if you got that, I think that's something where you can come in the next season ready to contend. Like not contend for a championship, but you'd be in this spot, playoffs, like thinking you
contend like we thought we were contending this year.
Right. You could do that. The other one that I'm intrigued by, but I don't know if anybody else is the potential Miami trade package. I like Tyler Hero. I think if you
love Tyler Hero.
I really like Tyler Hero. Okay. I don't know if I love, but Tyler Hero can go. He can play. And, this year, with all the craziness that's going on with Jimmy Butler and Jimmy's been out some games or whatever, I think Tyler Hero's like averaging like 25 points a game. And, you get him, you get a Jaime Jaquez, and, maybe I think Jokic might be too much for them to give up, but a potential Miami trade proposal is really intriguing to me because I think Hero could step in to, being one of your top scorers and play well with Sabonis if you're trying to move forward. So I would rank them as Houston, Miami, San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely say Houston. Miami for me is tough. I mean, okay, Tyler Hero, I'm okay with, but at the same time, I don't know that I like the potential of a Tyler Hero, Malik Monk backcourt. I don't know how that works, and that to me is just really tough. So I'm not. That's not like super high on my priority list. Although I do really like Jaime Jaquez. But again, Jaquez is just a high level role player. And I would say the same thing about Sohan, and I would say even the same thing about Hero. Like, I don't think Hero is going to be an all-star in the Western Conference. And, you can say, well, Fox might not either. But, like a Jalen Green has a potential, and he's younger, and he has that potential to reach all-star level. And if I'm talking to Houston, I want him. I want Jabari. I'll take Cam Whitmore. I'd beg for Tari Eason, but I doubt that'll happen. If Amin Thompson is on the table, like there's going to be like a group of players there, and I'm going to want 2 or 3 of them at a minimum, and that's for Fox. And again, I'm not trading Fox unless I have to. I mean, he's 27 years old. He'll be 28 next December 20th. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy who, if you can get him in the right headspace and you can get this team going the right direction, he could be your point guard for the next 8 years still. And so I think you can visualize a world in which, the Kings have a starting lineup of something like Malik Monk and Jalen Green with Jabari Smith Jr. and Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis and maybe a Cam Whitmore off the bench. That's not a bad team. That team's got a lot of talent. But it also is just a different construction. And one of those guys is going to have to end up being as good, equal to, or greater than what you have in Fox. And, it would have to be that Houston is just looking to fast forward what they're doing a little bit and go away from all the young players and, sort of weed through and keep a handful of them and then build around a player like Fox.
Dame, let me ask you real quick to that point. If Fox comes to Monty in a month, it's like, I don't think I'm re-signing this extension. I kind of want to trade. Do you trade him before the deadline or do you wait to the summer? I wait to the summer almost no matter what. I'll be like, all right, Fox, okay, we'll handle this in the summer. I'm not trading him now, mainly because my thing is I have to talk to Houston. And Houston don't want to do nothing right now. So I'm going to wait for them to be open for business, and then I'll talk. It's good that you let me know. thank you, but I'm not in the business of trading you right now. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, if you're going to do anything, you need to wait till the summer. And, that means that you only have a year left of Fox on a guarantee. But any of those deals is going to come with the stipulation that he's going to sign a long-term deal wherever he's going. And so,
Which
I
means
mean,
he's
if,
going to have influence.
well, yeah, he's going to have some influence. No, for sure. And like, look, he's been a good soldier for you. It's not like you want to send him to the worst place possible. I also,
No,
as
you
a
send him to
franchise,
the place that makes your team the best.
no,
Look, you
I
don't
get
want to be
that.
here. You don't want to be here. That's fine. Okay. If that's Detroit, it's Detroit. If it's Orlando, or Orlando's good. If it's somewhere else, like if it's a place you don't like, yo, you deal with that with them. Because there could be a team out there that takes the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard risk and goes, no, okay, we'll win them.
No, at the end of the
losing
day,
ain't my problem.
yeah, at the end of the day, you're right, Damian. You do look for the best offer available, but those offers change when he says, "I'm not going to
You're
go
right.
there,"
You're right.
and that's the
I'm not going
difference.
to sign there. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
I'm not going to
No,
sign there. So
to answer your question, I'd probably wait. And but also, and I don't want to keep harping on this fictitious trade scenario. I'll ask now. I have no problem with that. I'll ask now. And two, James, you said this. I guess I'm just a heel all of a sudden, because what's the right headspace for him? I feel like we've been asking him to be in the right headspace for 3-4. And I'm sorry, I'm sure Mrs. Fox is never going to listen to this show again. But what are we talking about at this point? What are we asking his headspace to be? De'Aaron Fox is De'Aaron Fox. We've seen him his entire adult life. That's him. He's not going to change whether the team is losing. He's not going to change whether the team is winning. He's De'Aaron. What is the right headspace for him?
no, to be honest with you, I think he wants to be on a winner, and a winner that, if his team is winning, he's going to get all the accolades. And he kept saying that early in his career, like, hey, winning will take care of everything. And then the one season they won, he made the All-Star team as All-NBA and proven correct. Like, winning does cure all in the NBA, or at least for the most part it does. And that's kind of, I think, what he's looking for. He's looking for a situation where his legacy can be wrapped up into something bigger. And if Sacramento can provide that, I don't think he wants to leave. I think he just feels like, we're heading towards a path where you almost have to leave, because if not, you're just going to do what Damian Lillard did and waste the best part of your career with a franchise that can't figure out how to get it done. And that's always going to be the problem. Can you figure out how to get it done? Because look, I could see a pathway this summer where, again, we can do all kinds of hypotheticals here if that's what we're doing, but where, the Kings hit a reset button, but they hit a reset button that's super intriguing to Fox. And I don't mean as in trading players. I mean as in, whether it's a new general manager, a new head coach, whatever it might be. I didn't hear what you said.
I said a new owner.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like, there could be some situation where it's like Fox looks at it and goes, "Oh man, that looks really good to me. Like, I would consider staying and seeing if we can figure this out with this group of people moving forward." And I think that's what we have to be open to, that what makes De'Aaron Fox happy today and what makes De'Aaron Fox happy this summer or later in the season might be different things, and I don't think you should be picking and choosing like your pathway forward just with De'Aaron Fox in mind. You should be picking and choosing your pathway forward because your team's not good enough and you need to figure out ways to improve the roster. And, like, whatever it is that's happened here, it's proven out that through, 30 something games of the season, you're not competing. And so you need to change things. And I agree with Fox that the roster isn't good enough. And you didn't know it wasn't going to be good enough until you got into the season and it proved to be not good enough. But now you're at a point where it's like, okay, what do you do to make it better? And, like the Cam Johnson thing, man, that's a tough blow. I think the Kings have been talking to the Nets a lot, and all of a sudden Cam Johnson rolls his ankle and walks out on crutches last night. And, that could change what you're looking at, but it could also change the price of Cam Johnson a little bit. It could change, whether he's available or not to the Kings. And, maybe you got to sit for 3 weeks or 4 weeks without him if that's what his ankle, injury is. We don't know yet. But like these things are always fluctuating and moving. And it is like really tough to be a general manager in the NBA and have moving targets all over the place, because yesterday's price for Cam Johnson might not be today's price. And, that's just a reality. And it's why you're always hesitant about putting someone out there on the court who might be someone that you're looking to trade, because there's always that possibility that, he just went from getting 2 first-round picks for a guy to, hey, he's going to be out 6 weeks. You're looking at 1 first-round pick now and a lesser prospect, that type of deal. And so, yeah, things are always moving and always changing.
James, let me ask you a question about Monty McNair, his approach to improving this roster. Don't want to stall him out because some of it is his own doing. A lot of it is his own doing. When you talk about not having the assets, not having the second-round picks, and the way they've kind of wasted those in recent memory. But do you think it's plausible, possible, probable that he almost couldn't make a move until Devin Carter got back and cleared to play? Because you think about it like this, people say trade Lyles and Herter. All right, well, if I trade Lyles and Herter for one player, if depth is my issue, I'm just went -1 with people that I could play, no matter how good Cam Johnson is. I just lost a depth piece, and depth is my issue. So now having Devin Carter back, I can maybe trade it, or having him here in general, I can maybe do a 2-for-1 trade and still at the very least be at the same place I was as far as bodies, capable bodies coming off the bench. And now it may be balanced out a little bit more. I got a guard, I got a forward, or whatever the case may be. But do you think it's as simple as he just said, I can't almost physically do anything until I get another player to be in that rotation?
Yeah, like I get what you're saying. But I would say this, like they still have Jordan McLaughlin on the bench that they could play. They still have Doug McDermott. They still have Jay Crowder that they could play more if they had a pinch and they needed somebody to fill in the rotation. And like you can say, well, that would be a downgrade. And it's like, would it really be a downgrade? Because I'm not sure that, what you're getting out of some of the players that you're playing right now, that there is a huge downgrade that you can do. And I'd also say this, like you bring up Devin Carter. What if like you needed Devin Carter to be healthy so you could trade Devin Carter, and so you didn't have to include one player in one deal, so then you could use that other player for another deal?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I know it sounds complex, but like it's possible that there is a Kevin Huerter, Devin Carter trade that works out with the Nets. And instead of giving up a bunch of first-round picks, you give up a guy who is a former first-round pick who hasn't played yet or will make his NBA debut tonight. And then what if you turn around and you take Trey Lyles' contract and you move that for Jonas Valanciunas or something like that? And so you're sort of making moves upon moves. So I'm with you as far as like the depth piece, but what if the depth that you need is it has to be acquired in different ways? And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen here. I'm just saying that that there is a lot of ways in which Monty is going to try to piece this thing together, and it might not be one move, and you might make a move that clears out a bunch of your depth, and then have to turn around and find depth in a different way. And that's why you should probably do a lot of this stuff before the season starts, because it kind of feels to me a little bit like what happened with Phoenix last year, where they made all their moves right at the beginning, like leading up to the season. And then once they made all those moves, they have no way to make another move to get better. And you saw very quickly they didn't have the depth, and their depth ended up being like their Achilles heel. And so, sometimes it is about the ability to go out and sign a guy or to bring a guy in that, that fits your system. But also sometimes it's finding multiple deals that make your team better, but in just ways that we're not seeing right now that haven't materialized yet.
Hammer broadcasting from the bomb shelter over at the Golden One Center where they shoot NBA TV at. Hammer, we're doing a lot of hypothetical talk, a lot of what the future could be. The fact is, Doug Christie has taken over as the head coach. He's won 2 of the last 3 games. He's won 2 in a row, and they've got a Memphis Grizzlies team coming in tonight to the Golden One Center. It's going to be playing without Ja Morant, and I called the victory against the Philadelphia 76ers the biggest, and I think it's certainly the most important win that the Kings have had so far at the Golden One Center. The crowd was really engaged, and shout out to De'Aaron for that shot at halftime. That really sent the crowd into a frenzy, and then him and Malik in the fourth quarter really kind of kept things going there. So, the story tonight, at least as it stands right now, Hammer, is the debut of Devin Carter, who we've been talking about a lot. And we've kind of gone back and forth on what we've seen in the G League and what that should actually mean. But there's a lot of eyes on him tonight, and it feels, Hammer, like there might be a little bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, people have to understand he hasn't played. He's never played in the NBA, but even like the G League, he hasn't played in 9 months. Like, this is going to be, I think it'll be a really cool moment, especially with his dad here. His dad, Anthony Carter, is, of course, an assistant on the Memphis Grizzlies team. So you have that aspect. So that's cool. The fact that he's made it back in early January, I think that's a really good sign as well. We don't know what he's going to look like. We don't know if what we're seeing at the G League level is going to translate to the NBA level like right away. I think what we will see is a guy who can really rebound, who hustles, who is like sort of all over the place defensively. And he's just a ball hawk. Everywhere you look, he's there. He's right near the ball all the time. And so for me, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see. I hope that he continues to hit threes like he has in his first 2 G League games. But I'm also like realistic to understand that not only is this a young player who hasn't played in 9 months, but he also is a player that missed all of training camp, who missed all of everything and his summer workouts and learning all of the stuff that comes with that. And so when he walks onto an NBA court, he's not going to get the opportunity that he has in Stockton to go out and shoot 12, 15, 17 times a game. He's going to have to figure out what his role is. He's going to have to figure out, just like anybody else does, how to play within the parameters of the NBA rules and to learn on the fly very quickly for a team that is way behind the 8 ball and doesn't have time for him to like catch up. And so like they're already behind the 8 ball. And if they're behind the 8 ball, I don't even know what Devin Carter is. He's behind the 8 ball and the cue ball and the 3 ball and the 7 ball and like every other ball. Like, I'm not quite sure how else to describe it, but like he's got a long way to go, and he's joining a team that doesn't really have the time to wait for him right now because of the situation that they put themselves in. You got a head coach who clearly will be asked to play him. But like in a perfect situation, Doug Christie would want 8 practices with this kid to make sure he knew exactly what he's getting. And that's just not the luxury you're going to have during the season. And so I'm intrigued, but I'd also just caution people, like, Doug Christie's trying to win games here. And if Devin Carter steps on the court and he's not going to help them win games, or if Devin Carter steps on the court in the last 3 minutes of a game and doesn't play the rest of the game, but just steps on the court in the last 3 minutes of a game, that's okay. Like, this is the situation that everybody's in, and there's really no way around it other than to be patient and hope that the kid gets it right away, and hope that he isn't a player that steps on and like looks lost. And that's totally a possibility because, let's be honest, he's never played with any of these guys ever. So like there is no 5-on-5 that he's played with Domantas Sabonis in the last 2 months hiding out that makes him understand how to play with Domas. He's done some walkthrough stuff, but that's a lot different than live game action and trying to learn how to play within the structure of the NBA with players that have very distinct skill sets.
Yeah, I look at Devin Carter's game, in college was a little different because he was that guy and, he had the ball in his hands a lot. And he probably did even in Stockton a little bit too when I think about it. But I look at the way he plays. And if you're Doug Christie and you say, hey, you're about to get this 4-minute stretch right here, be confident, The only thing I'm really looking for you to do is just play hard. You know what I mean? If you got a shot, take it. I think that's conducive to who Devin Carter is just at the core, right? Like, just go out there, play hard. You may make some mistakes. That's cool. But if you're out there tired or walking around or unsure, then that's when you're going to come out. I want you to give everything you can. And I think because that's what's going to be asked of him, and that's kind of who he is by nature, I think we're going to see some decent minutes from Devin Carter whenever he does play.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Like, and if I'm Doug Christie, I'm probably looking at like, hey, when can I run a 2-3 zone? And can I stick him in the game for a few minutes while I'm running a 2-3 zone? When can I put him on in sort of an isolation defensive set where he's only going to be defending one player? We're not going to switch everything up for the next 10 minutes or the next 3 minutes type deal. Like, there's always that possibility that you can simplify the game for him, put him in sets that he's known from his college days or known from playing high school, where he can fit in and just really kind of settle down and not have to worry about the complexities of the NBA. Like, should I go over or under on the screen? Should I switch on this screen or should I drop back? Like, there's all of these things that Devin just hasn't done at the NBA level. And, the last thing I want to see is him trying to defend, Desmond Bane on one play and then getting switched on to, a much bigger player, a much smaller player, like all of these things that happen during an NBA game. That just makes life a lot more complicated. And that's where like just having experience at any level would help him in this situation. So I know the G League has at least like put him in on a pathway to get in better shape. Now it's about like, how do you learn the nuances of the game on the fly when you're, 35 games or 33 games into an NBA season and you haven't played in 9 months.
Do you have any sort of update on Keegan? I checked the latest injury report and it hasn't been updated in ever.
No, but I'm going to guess that he is not playing tonight. He definitely has been listed as doubtful on every injury report that we've seen so far. Let me see if there is a current one. No, he's still doubtful for tonight. But that also, it hasn't been updated because Devin Carter and Isaiah Crawford and Isaac Jones and Mason Jones and Orlando Robinson are still considered out because of G League assignment. So we will see an update, but like, look, this kid has been dealing with a really, really bad ankle for a while. And from what I know, it's not a sprain. He jammed it, is how I've heard it been described. And it just keeps like collecting fluid and he's had to have a shot or two to try to get him through. And the thing that you can't do is like in the NBA season, this kid's playing 38 minutes a night and 37 minutes a night. The only way to really get this thing healed up is just to give him a couple of days, have it elevated, let it drain, make sure that it heals naturally. And, the Kings medical staff have done their best to keep him patched together the best they can. But I think where we do see this is, he doesn't have his legs. He doesn't have his legs under him fully. He's not as quick on the defensive side of the ball, but also he's just coming up short on so many 3-point shots. And you can tell that he's not 100% right. And I think the only way that this team has any chance is, number one, to get a second Keegan Murray. But number two, to get the one Keegan Murray they do have 100% healthy so he can help you the way that he should be able to. And as of right now, he's just not healthy enough to do it. So I'm hoping that they give him, today, maybe the back-to-back Sunday, Monday, and then you see the Kings start having little breaks in the schedule where you might be able to get him some recovery time.
Oh man, I completely forgot about the Sunday game. I thought it was Memphis, Miami. I completely forgot about that Sunday.
Yeah, they got to go down to the dental office. Man. I was talking to Bonte, or Butch wasn't there, but I was talking to Bonte this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, man. They ready. They're trying to figure out Buddy Hield. That's
good luck, pal. Huh. Good luck, guys.
Sometimes you could just ask.
Yeah.
What is the line from Tommy Boy? I can find out about a bull by sticking my head up his bleep, but Or I could just ask a butcher. Like,
You could say ass, James. I don't know if ass isn't allowed on the insiders, but it's perfectly okay on D'Lo and KC.
You mentioned Damian mentioned earlier in the show about how the possible integration of Devin Carter combined with Keegan Murray not being around may be, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but it may help with rotations, simplify things because there's not an odd man out. And if everybody's there, it feels like there's an odd man out. Mm-hmm. We're all selecting Herder, but because there's still room for minutes wise and position wise for somebody to play, you can get Devin Carter in there and still get Kevin Herder in there and try to figure out whatever you can with Keegan Murray's minutes in his position. But you kind of see the same thing where it may help him out rotation wise when you talk about what Doug Christie's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Keon Ellis went from like playing 11, 12 minutes a night to 38 minutes. Like that's not I know Keon's young and I know he's in great shape and all that stuff, but that's not like a recipe for success typically to take a player that's not playing very much and then play him, jumping up to 25 or 28 minutes, that's one thing, but having to play 38 minutes, that's a whole other thing. And so I definitely look at this as, I don't want to say it's like a full-on blessing that Keegan Murray's not there, but what it will do is it should open up a little bank of minutes where Doug might be able to allocate some of those over to a player like Devin. I hope it doesn't come at the expense of Keon. Again, it can come at the expense of Keon for like 8 of those minutes and put him at 30. The lights kicked on in here. I don't know if you guys know.
I thought the sun just started shining like in your bomb shelter. I was like, what?
Yeah. No, I just got NBA TV'd. I put my foot on the box on the ground and it kicked on the lights and all of a sudden I look good. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, I look pasty, but yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I definitely I think it's possible that this will help the at least Doug to open up like 5 to 8, 10 minutes for a guy like Devin. And look, maybe Devin steps on the court just like, hey, look, here I am. I'm ready to play. And everyone's like, I can't believe this is happening. This kid's just like 100%, like he never missed a beat. And, maybe it changes the way the Kings look at their season moving forward. Maybe it changes what they're offering in trades to other teams. But either way, I would rather walk into a game with Keegan Murray than without it.
James Ham live from the bomb shelter at the Golden One Center. We'll come back. We'll talk more. It's the Kings and the Grizzlies tonight. Kings looking for, believe it or not, their 3rd straight win.
Say word.
In the Doug Christie era. So we'll come back. We'll talk more about this with our insider from the Insiders, James Ham with D'Lo and KC here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. And we're clear.
Sweet. We have a second. I can show everybody the actual bomb shelter. So this is like a thing on the wall, and I'm literally in a cinder block room.
Oh my God!
And then this is the NBA like TV setup.
Oh wow!
That was a nice setup. Well, I mean,
it's kind of like
it is pretty nice.
It's like it's on wheels. So like this is just like a big box that they send out. So it's all pre-made.
The NBA sends it out to every arena.
Yeah, the NBA probably has one of these in every single arena, just like this, and it just kind of folds out. And then I know the monitor went bad, so the Kings had to replace the monitor. I found that out the other day when I was in here. But there's a camera right here. There's headsets and everything else. This is where I did the hit the other day for NBA TV. It's kind of cool.
Shout out to James Ham because I think he might be the only one that uses that here in Sacramento.
This room?
Maybe a player, maybe, but can't think anybody else would be on NBA TV. Just James Ham.
Yeah, I don't know if that's I know a couple of the producers that for NBA TV, so I guess that's how it happens. They reach out to me. I'm the guy that they used to reach out to, but I don't know if that would be I mean, like the Kings' first choice.
Damn,
But
Jabari Smith fractured his hand at shoot around.
Man, that's tough.
no,
Oh, that is terrible.
And I how does that happen?
Man, I don't know. 4 to 8 weeks, which doesn't even feel like a fair time frame. That's like 4 or double it.
It must have been a dunk. It had to have been a dunk because James, they're not doing anything at a shoot around, right? That would typically.
yeah. Well, I mean, a guy can trip and just take a bad step and fall on his hand funny. You know, I don't know. That is kind of weird. I don't know.
Feels like it had to be a dunk.
But what it does is it opens the door for Tari Eason or Amin Thompson to step in and start. And, you know, maybe they think that Jabari is expendable by the end of the season. And maybe that is something that helps the Kings.
Opens up the door for men to throw somebody around again.
Whew, 4 to 8. 4 to 8 weeks. Jeez. It's a bad one. Yeah, maybe it was too many high fives. You're right.
Huh?
Maybe he ran into that guy here in Sacramento that we all know gives too hard of a high five.
Really does. He greets you with excessive
Wait, who's
aggression.
that?
Excessive high fives. I love him. He's a great dude. Every time it's like, whack, you're like, what the hell just happened?
Bro, why the fuck are you hitting me so hard?
You walk away and your hand is all red and like, what in the world just happened?
Just aggressively hugs you, like, man, relax.
Yeah, like I'm okay with the hug. That's fine. The hug is fine. Just stop.
Forearm shiver, like back up.
Woo! Like Rick flared me right there. Like,
all right, we're coming back, James.
All
right, back here with James Ham inside the NBA TV studio rooms out there, which is really just a cinder brick room.
Yeah,
that actually looks like some sort of solitary confinement.
I mean, they could put some of those the foam thing.
The padding that would help. Yeah, it looks like where they send unruly fans, and they were just like,
unruly fans.
Put a camera in here and put a backdrop.
What
and
is this, Veteran Stadium?
Where they put
at the jail
where they put puke guy. Is they?
Yeah,
where did puke guy go?
Oh no, they have a jail cell in the building. I haven't seen it here, but I did. Oh, well, I mean, I could always tell that story, but my friend Blake Ellington at the old Arco recorded a video of a high-ranking member of the, someone in the ownership group, the previous ownership group, and one of their entourage get into a fist fight. And Blake was taken into a dark room and supposed to give up his phone, and he wouldn't give up his phone because he might have a video of something. And
almost broke his hand.
He did not have good video of what had happened, but just to say, like, they definitely had a cell at Old Arco, and I guarantee you they have a cell here.
The cell at Old Arco was throwing them in the clown tunnel.
Yeah, or just walling you in and making you feel like, you know, the clown tunnel is there for your soul. Yeah.
That's
I wasn't really sure where that story was going when you said a member of the ownership group and someone. Well, I just thought the story was going to end with some sort of sex video.
Oh, jeez.
With you.
No.
The story was going to end with some sort of sex video. Instead, it was that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I hope we never see the jail cell. It's definitely right. I remember during that.
I feel like there's still parts of the Golden One Center I haven't seen.
There's a whole nother side I feel like I've never seen. I left there one time on one of the sides. I was like, I don't think I've ever been over here before.
But they took us up to the catwalk when they were almost done building it. They took us up to the catwalk and let us go out, and it was crazy.
I would have said, I'll see y'all when you come back.
Yeah,
no, I didn't walk out. I just looked out the door through at the catwalk. I'm like, no, I'm good.
That's crazy. That jail cell was probably used during that Kings Warriors playing game last year. around the third quarter. That's about 4 different occasions of people getting walked down the stairs. They had too much to drink.
That's where they should have thrown Draymond Green.
That's where I thought you were going.
Adam Silver, send him to the jail cell.
We don't assault other NBA players. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Adam Silver, take his ass to jail. Oh,
take him to King's jail.
Take him to Golden One jail. It's the Kings and the Grizzlies tonight. The Kings are going to be in a different kind of jail if they let the Memphis Grizzlies dictate this game. We're joking about fights and old ownership groups. This is a team that will fight you.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, literally and figuratively. This is a team that will fight you whether Ja Morant is there or not. This is a team that has a style of play, and if they pull you into that style of play, it's going to be a tough night for you. Hammer, it seems like the Kings got to find a way to kind of dictate the pace of this game and not let Memphis slow this thing down too much.
Okay, so first of all, Memphis has the highest pace in the NBA. They're 105.5 per game. They're number 1 in the league in pace. They're also number 6 in offense and number 4 in defensive rating. And their net rating is a plus 8.6. They average 123.2 points per game, which is first in the NBA. This team is really good despite all the injuries. And I think if I'm Doug Christie and I'm talking to my players going into this game, like, you need to figure out the intensity that they play with in the first 2 minutes of the game. And then I need you to match it. And then I need you to not only match it, but remember what this is. Make this your new preset for every game, because this team plays hard. They play super fast. They're aggressive. They lead the league in 3-point percentage and 2-point percentage, which is crazy. Like, this is a very, very good physical team that out of nowhere is 23-9 on the season. Like, they're just because they're missing players, that doesn't mean anything. This team is going to bring it. And it's something that, for whatever reason, Taylor Jenkins has been able to get this team to play extremely hard every single season he's been the coach. And last season, they had, 30-something rostered players because of injuries. They're playing with 8 and 9 dudes half the games of the season. And this year, here they are again playing without 6 or 7 players. It's just brutal what's happened to them injury-wise. But that doesn't change who this team is as a group. They fight you. And if you don't show up, they'll just punk you. And even if you do show up, they make you play the entire 48 minutes. And it's something that the Kings should be looking at as a way that they play the game moving forward after this game. Because if you can bottle this, you can figure out how to play with the passion and physicality and energy that the Grizzlies do, and then you mix that with the Kings' talent, then you're going to win a lot of games here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, James. This new, I want to say new, but Doug Christie-led Kings team, this seems like a little bit of a barometer test to see where you're at, to see if some of the ways that Doug Christie approaches the game as a player and even as a coach rubs off on this team. If they start to take the identity of Doug Christie, because Memphis is a Doug Christie type team, like tough as nails. And you want to get physical, I'm going to get physical right back. And we're going to do this dance. And we saw a little bit of that the last 2 games with the way they defended and just really mentally being strong from this Kings team. Now you're going to have that mental, emotional aspect matched up with the physical toughness that you're going to have on a consistent basis against Memphis. I would look at this as a good barometer test to what this team could be moving forward when you talk about the Kings, if they can start to match physicality with teams like Memphis moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is a good test for the Kings, but I think it's also a good reinforcement piece for Doug Christie, because this is what he's asking his teams to do. He's asking the Kings to play like this, to play this hard, to play this physical, to get up and down the court, to move. And if you want an example of how you can have the number 1 pace in the league, but the number 6 defense in the league, the number 4 defense in the league. It's possible. You just have to play hard. And so I think this is a moment where anything that Doug is preaching is going to be sort of, again, backed up by the play of another team. Like, look at how they handle their business. And again, like on paper, Memphis tonight, their roster tonight is nowhere near as talented as the Kings. Like, there is no Ja, there is no Santi Aldama. Zach Edey, I think, is questionable or out. Like, they're down a ton of. Gigi Jackson's out. Marcus Smart is out. Like, you have a bunch of guys out on this team or questionable. Like, this is a moment where, like, you have to look at just the style alone and strip it down. And it doesn't matter who's on the court. The only thing that matters is how hard they play, the energy, the passion, the physicality that they play with. And if you can match that, talent should win out. And so I'm with you. I think this is almost like a perfect team for the Kings to figure out and to gear up to play, and then to come out of a game and go, okay, I get it. I get that's what we have to play with if we're going to get back in this thing.
Grizzlies 9-5 without Ja this year. Offensive numbers down just a little bit in the month of December, but overall they can score anywhere from 134 points and beat the Portland Trailblazers by 50, or they can beat Denver by scoring 105 in games that Ja's not there. Of course, this is Ja.
Yeah.
This isn't all of Gigi. This isn't Zach Edey. This isn't all of the other players that James just mentioned right there. But this is a team that has, as you mentioned, scoring 123 points per game, which is in stark contrast to ways that they've played in the past. Of course, last year is kind of the anomaly with Ja Morant out. They've always been exciting. They've always been able to get up the floor. But what they're known for is being nasty. Mm-hmm. What they're known for is being, just like a down and dirty team that will out tough you. Mm-hmm. Every step of the way. They will out tough you, and that combined with everything that they're able to do on the offensive end, you talk about out of nowhere. It feels like one player's reemergence into the lineup, because as you mentioned, Marcus Smart has missed a ton of time this year. You throw Ja back in with this group, and all of a sudden, a team that won, a handful of games last year is 23-11, 34 into this.
Yeah, and I mean, the last time you played this team, Ja wasn't good at all, and they still beat you. Yeah. I mean, Ja was horrible and then got thrown out of the game. Like, he wasn't good. And so that just tells you
horrible 4-minute stretch for Sacramento at the end of that game. Just awful.
Yeah, exactly. What basically the exact thing that happened that they did their last time out is what Memphis did to them last time they played. But again, I'll point out, last time it was guys like Santi Aldama that tore you up. He's out tonight. It was Marcus Smart who had a big game. He's out tonight. Jake LaRavia had a big game against the Kings. He's questionable tonight. Zach Edey's questionable. Brandon Clark is questionable. Gigi Jackson is out. This team is totally beat up still. I would expect, like, if Brandon Clark can go, I expect him to. His family lives here in Sacramento. Well, up in my neck of the woods. So there's usually a large contingency here cheering on Brandon Clark. But this is just a gritty team that's different than most teams in the league. And I think it really does speak volumes. If you're the Kings and you just learned what you can do in the final 3 minutes and 39 seconds of a game and shut a team down and don't let them score again and go on a 15-0 run, you just remember that this is the same exact team that did that to you. And you now know what it feels like to put that type of performance on another team, but also remember back that this group can do that to you just as well.
Just saw Brandon Clark some love too, because he was out virtually all of last year too. It wasn't just Ja.
Yeah. Shout out to Jalen Wells. You talking about having contingency here at the game tonight. I mean, his first game back in Sacramento in his hometown. There's gonna be a lot of people there to wish him well, man. So that'll be cool to see. 2-3 games into the Doug Christie era. What do you see? I should ask, James. Do you see any difference with this team, schematically, or just motor wise or whatever? Do you see anything different from these guys?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen is again, I've mentioned this before, but he really has number one, he's relied on Alex Len in the first half, but then gone away from him in the second half. He switched up that rotation where the first two guys out of the game are Fox and DeMar DeRozan, and then he leaves when Keegan's healthy. He leaves Keegan and Monk and Demonis on the floor together, and then when he goes back to Fox and DeMar DeRozan, it's those two with three shooters around them. So I think those are two things that I would point to. So outside of that, it's very similar. I think they're just playing really hard. Like whatever it was, whatever the malaise was, they've woken up. They are sort of, realizing that, once your coach is fired, there really isn't anywhere to go. If you want this season to just unwind, 50 games is a lot to just coast home. And either you get busy playing or you get busy quitting. And I think at this point they're listening. I think they all understand. One of the key messages that the players are getting, and especially with Doug taking over as like the head coach, is his love of Sacramento, his passion for the franchise and for the city and for this fan base, and how he has unfinished business here and wants to instill that in his guys, that this is a place where you're the only game in town. And taking them up to the roof and showing them the beam the other night, I think it's a really cool gesture. But the words that he spoke during that moment, I think, are even more powerful, that you're the light of this city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think players lose sight of that. They lose sight of, why they're playing or who they're playing for. And I certainly think that that's happened here in the first half of the season where, since I can use the word on the radio, the Kings have been ass at home.
Very good, James.
Like, to me, like, let's be honest, it's not fair to your home crowd to do what they've done. This is an embarrassment. It should be, at least for everyone in that locker room, that you go into a nearly packed house almost every single night, a fully engaged fan base, one of the great fan bases in the NBA. You can't go anywhere in this town and pay for a drink if you're a Sacramento King, or pay for dinner or anything else. Like, this city embraces you, and to reciprocate that love by, like going out and just playing poorly every single time you're at home, that's not who this team is, and it can't be who this franchise is. People are paying a lot of money for these tickets with the promise that this team was going to be better. And they really have been left, sort of shortchanged here by this team. And I think Doug is reminding them that it's disrespectful. And to be honest, these are Doug's people. Sacramento is Doug's people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing this to Doug's people. And he's standing up as much as anything for that 2002 Western Conference team, but also for the city that has embraced him and his family and been such a huge part of his life.
Trailblazers 8-8 at home. They have 11 wins. The Toronto Raptors are 7-11 at home.
Come on.
They have 8 wins.
Oh, man.
The Kings are 8-12 at the Golden One Center.
Come on, we got to fix that, guys. We got to.
Well,
fix
that
it. 5 straight losses will do that to you.
It will. Well,
yeah, but they weren't good before that. So,
well, no, they weren't.
They were a 500 team at home, or a below 500 team at home. I'll remind people too, there was a time where the Kings, I believe it's 42 straight road games, they lost. They lost 42 straight road games in the 90s, and the team still put up 20-something wins every year.
I don't even think Jesse was alive when that happened.
No, I don't think so either. But that tells you that they were still over 500 at home.
Right.
And this team isn't 500 at home, so it doesn't make sense to win 48 games and have 25 of those come on the road. This has been a problem for a couple of years, and I don't get it. I don't know what the problem is, or why this team is bad at home, but it's something that they need to rectify. And I think that that's one way in which Doug is going to imprint on them every single day, that we will not be bad at home. And it's one thing for Alvin to yell and scream every single, how could we be this bad at home? It's another thing for Doug to walk in the room and say, this is my house. If you're going to disrespect this fan base, you're disrespecting me. And, I'm not going to deal with that. This team needs to figure out how to be good.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what they can do tonight and moving forward. There's a little energy right now with this team after those 2 wins. And I don't think it's just the wins per se. I think the way they won those games kind of energized those guys too, showing a little mental toughness to come back against a Mavericks team that was, yes, shorthanded, but they found a way to win that one. And then the 15-0 run to finish that game against Philadelphia. I am a little believer in sometimes the way you win can galvanize you a little bit more than just the win itself. Like if they would have beat Philadelphia by 8, where it was a coast-to-coast win, maybe it doesn't give you the same feeling, the same vibes as having to show some toughness and come back and win that game. So biggest thing, like you guys mentioned, is winning at home. You have an opportunity to win 3 straight at home after losing 5 straight. So that's staring them in the face tonight. And I'm anxious to see how they come out, how they're ready to play. I would like talking about how they come out to these games. I would like for them not to be down double digits at some point.
Well,
game. Can we hope for that?
Probably not. You can hope for it. You can hope for a lot of things.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I just want to make sure, like, for whatever happened here with Mike Brown, like Mike Brown didn't leave a shack. He left a house that needed a little bit of touch-up paint. Like the fact that this team has underperformed, that's on them. It's like you look around the locker room, it's on you to change your outlook and to change where you're going this season. This is a high quality team. It is a team with a ton of talent. Now they have missing pieces. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but at the same time, even if they have missing pieces, that doesn't excuse the fact that they are very, very talented and they have underperformed grotesquely. And so, like, look, this is, Doug's job is to try to figure out the way to unlock this team and to figure out how to reach them in a different way and then unleash them on the NBA. And you're hoping that happens and it sticks. But the first couple of games are a good indicator that good things are starting to happen. But you still have close to 50 games left. Like this is it's more than just some tinkering that has to happen here in order to get this thing back on track. And there can't be steps backwards, especially against teams that are missing half their roster.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things I was asking myself earlier is like, okay, did the Kings win a couple of games in a row, or are maybe we starting to see the turnaround here a little bit? And I don't think because they dug themselves such a hole, because they fired their head coach, no matter what happens tonight, we don't have the answer to that. Like 2 games isn't going to do it, but it's like, oh, okay. 3 games doesn't do it. It's like, oh, okay, that's good. It's not even, they lose to the Warriors, win against the Heat, or beat the Warriors, lose. It's not that. It's what do the next 10 games look like?
Right.
Are they 8-2 in that stretch, 7-3 in that stretch? Then it's like, yeah, there's a turnaround here with DC. There's a turnaround since Mike Brown's fight. We're seeing something now, but we don't live 7 days from now, 7 games from now. We live right now. And so I guess, all you can hope for is, go out there and get a dub, do the old Russell Wilson 1 game at a time and see what happens.
1-0 every day.
1-0 every day. And it's, oh God, are we stacking days again? Are we bringing back the stacking days era?
Stacking days.
Hey,
Stacking
he was
days
here.
stack.
Yeah, Rico Hines he's part of that Philadelphia 76ers staff.
That's my boy Rico. Know your big picture.
Yeah.
So it's we're living in the now trying to figure out the Kings' future when in reality they could lose tonight and then they could win 3 of the next 4 and you still have to feel good about where they're at. It's just we've got to be patient in this process because it's going to be a long process because of that 6-game losing streak.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely killer. You take those losing streaks out of any season, and the Kings have always had them, but you take the 1 or 2 losing streak where that they let it go from 2 or 3 games to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 when it didn't have to get there. And like you can go back and look at like they lost 2 games by nothing, by mistakes by their star players in the final seconds. The DeMar DeRozan fumble the De'Aaron Fox foul. Like it didn't have to be a 6-game losing streak. And let's just take those 2 games. You put those 2 games and you move them over to the other ledger, and this team is 500. That's it. And that's what the NBA is about. It's a grind, but it's also about these little mistakes that you make at the wrong time that cost you in the grand scheme of an entire season. And now they've been put in a situation where they have to win a ton of games. They have to win and push for as many wins as possible if they're going to have any chance of turning this thing around.
Well, at least it wasn't a 9-game losing streak.
Well, at least it wasn't 2 of them.
I've been through those. I've been through an 8-game followed by a 1-game win streak followed by a 7-game losing streak.
Come on, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Goodness gracious.
That's my first year, and I don't even want to tell you what happened the one night in between. The one win they beat the Washington Wizards, John Wall versus DeMarcus Cousins for the first time, and John Wall hurt his wrist during pregame.
I remember that.
Oh, man.
I remember that. That was
and I have a great story what happened after that game, and I'm not going to tell it on the radio.
You probably are not allowed to tell it. No. James has great stories.
He does.
Hi, Drake. Nothing. I don't know that anything will beat.
Oh, well, Jacques Vaughn.
I'm not going to take that from Jacques Vaughn.
Come on now. Jacques Vaughn.
Real quick, before we get out of here, the streets are asking, Casey, did you give out that beam money? I got it.
Okay.
We got DeMontis Sabonis, 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Scottie Pippen Jr., more than 4.5 assists.
Real Housewives of Miami.
Combination of Desmond Bane and De'Aaron Fox, 47-point combo. Keon Ellis, half a free throw made. Give me more. And Trey Lyles. Yeah, half a free throw made for Keon Ellis.
Okay.
And 10 points for Trey Lyles. Give me more. That's that beam money. Go get that. Must be present in certain states. Prize Picks, run your game.
Okay. All right, Keon. See, I would be furious if I had a couple $100 riding on Keon getting to the free throw line
because he gonna make
time.
He gonna make at least one.
Oh, that's nauseating. That's I took the holidays off from Prize Picks. I might have to get in here a little bit. Might have to get in here. And
Pacers play tonight.
Man, I'm leaving that alone.
He's cooking now. Huh?
I'm leaving that alone.
It's
all funny till he scores 30. It's like, all right, I'm leaving that alone. Shout out to my boy Russell Westbrook, who made history the other day. It was so funny when they threw out that stat about not missing and no turnovers. I was like, didn't Domas just do that? And in fact, he did. Yeah. It's the 3 players are Jokic, Domas, and Russ.
That's fire.
Keon Ellis has made a free throw in only 3 of his last 13 games.
Oh.
Well,
all right.
To be honest, to be fair,
he's got full body heels on him.
Well, that's a good point. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you here Monday at 10 a.m. with the Insiders on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320.
Vamos Kings, like the beam.